Uh, this group, this team, we overcame with the economics. Your economics, we checked all the boxes, and we're the best boxes. But I don't want to imply that these guys weren't really straight and very, if you will, fair, and they very well might have thought they could get their cake and eat it too here, because they know how this is going to be in North Texas and how it's going to be visibly internationally. The governor did a great job. I remember here last fall when he came in and said, "Look, I know we've got a hurdle, we've got a big mountain to climb with the international perception of a New York. But on the other hand, this country, America, and a lot about where the young is and where the youth is going is right here in the center, and we like to think it's in the North Texas area as well. So make that the ultimate showcase." Well, I know they bought into a lot of that. That's why we have 9 games. And I don't know if we'll match the 9, we'll match what might happen as far as that final is concerned, but we'll have a lot of people see the best side of North Texas and Texas and the people in this area. And it'll be worldwide, big time. And we're going to do everything. I can't think of one thing that I would have done with the final that we're not going to do with these 11 games.
Jerry, how were you watching the broadcast, and what was your reaction?
We were standing all together, a group you see on the stage, the mayors, and then we had a lot of guests there. And so it was pretty clear. It was pretty articulate presentation of how it was unfolding, and so we did not lose chance when we got to semifinal. We thought that we could still be there for the final as well, and so we feel again. I can tell you firsthand, the committee, led by Johnny, they thought that we were tremendous, and they think we're tremendous, and they're expecting us to really lift soccer, and we're going to do our part.
Jerry, what was the room like when you first found out? What was the first thought that came to your mind when you saw New York pop up?
Well, I didn't look at the room. I just was looking at the information, and I was standing with Dan and standing with Chad and our group, and so again, we knew when we got that semifinal that certainly getting both of them would be maybe hard to do. So, but I fully came over here today thinking that it was ours to lose. And but knowing from the get-go of what competition the New York, Los Angeles stadiums are with international perception.
Jerry, how different is this area from '94 when the World Cup was here to where it is now? You were new-ish, I guess, to the area from '89 to '94. How much has changed?
Well, I can't speak to how it's changed with soccer. Dan does a good job of that. It isn't even close of how it was when I came in the early 90s. Everybody was broke. The buildings were half empty, or the construction was stopped halfway through, and the buildings that were full were half empty, and the banks were all broke. That's what it looked like now. Now we are arguably the greatest place to be young, and that may be from 15 to 89. It's one of the greatest places there are on this earth for future and for viability and for quality of life. I believe that strongly, and by the way, I think the committee was well aware of that as well. This is a great showcase for what soccer can be in America, with certainly a backdrop of at least one example of what we're about here in Texas.
You've grown this franchise so much with the Cowboys. Why is it important to you to grow the sport of soccer here?
Well, I really be very candid with you. I really wanted to ride the coattail and have our AT&T Stadium really featured, and it's going to get featured. But I would have, I wanted the ultimate. I wanted it all. And so that was a big plus, but not in any way it would be, I overuse this term sometime, David, but it'd be madness to take anything off your fastball with 9 games in a semifinal as opposed to if you'd have gotten the final. That just was ridiculous because those nine games are every opportunity we've got to tell everybody internationally what we're about here.
Some of the adjustments and what you do here getting ready for the World Cup, will that translate to your Cowboy fans after the fact as far as viewing games here at the facility?
No. We will, there's parts of it that we will go alter what we put in for the soccer. We'll alter that on an ongoing basis for the football. Now we'll try to do it in a way that is mobile. When we were building this stadium, and it's really worked kind of good. I thought of this stadium as a theater, Broadway theater, one that you could come in and put the Grand Canyon in there or put Louisiana Swamps in there. You could just put it all. And had a lot of the flexibility to go with it, and this stadium was kind of like a theater as to sports and events. But we'll try to, whatever we do here, we'll try to keep as much of it as we can to give us flexibility going forward, certainly for soccer alone.
We hear these 9 matches called like having 9 Super Bowls. How has your appreciation for how big this tournament is grown?
I have spent a lot of time lately with the NFL going over. I'm chairman of our owned and operated entities in the NFL. And we've spent a lot of time looking at how we can take a lot of that intellectual property aspect of that and project it internationally and do that without necessarily playing the games over there. And so to that end, I've gotten to visit and be a part of some of the greatest storytellers that can take the ethos of the game and make it into a great part of going forward. The best example that I have was Ron Howard and Ron Glazer made a presentation. Both of them have my respect tremendously on telling a story. And they said, we want the NFL internationally. Picture it with our storytelling and the different parts of what the sport is about and the NFL is about. Picture every time you hear the song in Chariots of Fire, a little NFL going off as 15, 20, 30 years down the road. That's what we want to do. And so I think international, I've come full circle on international. I think international gives us a real chance to have a lot of the parts of what we do. And so soccer obviously is international. So to the end, the NFL and soccer can have big cousins or even second cousins. I'm all for it.
How has all of this affected your sense of wanting another Super Bowl here?
Well, candidly, I do. Let me be very clear. I want another Super Bowl here. And we should have a Super Bowl here. We deserve a Super Bowl here. The exercise of going and doing what I've been a part of on this World Cup has shown me how qualified we are for a Super Bowl. There's a lot of nuances going into that, a little politics involved in these Super Bowls. So we've got to work through some of those problems, but it certainly wants me to take advantage of this great facility. And by the way, we're spending $250 million without what we're going to be spending for soccer. We're spending $250 million here in the next 18 months to make everything newer than newer, and also add some things to it along as we go. So on your way out, check you can eat off the floor down in the event area. That's purpose that way. So we want to keep this thing looking new. 20 years later, it's 15 years later, it looks pretty new. And it's the way it will always be. So we want to make these games a part of that. But more than anything, I want to influence the people that are sharing and showing the game, as I said earlier, not to the people that are here but to the millions and millions that are out there. And if we put it on right, they'll be talking about not only our area we live in, but they'll be talking about a little bit of AT&T Stadium.
As for FIFA regulations, widening the field and putting down natural grass, how much work will go into that over the course of the next couple of years?
Well, I don't know how to measure it. As I've already said, I don't have the bill on it, but I can tell you instinctively, and I work pretty good off instincts, it's worth it.
Yeah, how much work will go into
to have it? Well, I don't know how to say how much work, but there'll be a lot of. I don't want to be trite at all, but a lot of work, and but we'll have it. We will. I know this much from everything I know about it, that will be a better stadium for it.
Jerry, where do things stand for you with your defensive coordinator search?
We're interviewing. We're basically have been planning meetings. I'm not going to get into who we're interviewing, but we have interviews beginning at 9 in the morning. I do.
Tomorrow.
What kind of timeline are you looking at on that?
Don't have a timeline on it, but again, don't have a timeline.
Nothing will be announced next week with the Super Bowl, though, right?
I don't know.
Even
that.
if you make a decision.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know that.
It's been 7
Upstage the Super Bowl.
Jerry, can you talk about the conversations you were having with FIFA officials when you hosted them here for y'all's bid for this stadium and what they were saying about this arena, this
Well,
stadium?
I was very encouraged. I was so lifted by their appreciation for what this stadium can be for soccer. And I think we can make it one of the great venue experiences that soccer has had. And I want to do it in a way that it can be in front of those 1.5 billion people that will be watching it worldwide. So, I'm arm waving with you here a little bit, but that's where it is. That's really what, to some degree, this is all about. And soccer, I don't have to tell you guys that, soccer is so substantive, and it has all the room in the world to do some succinct things, like the presentation of it, the venue of it, how to get it in the with the right color of backdrop, all of those things that I've experienced with the Cowboys and experienced with football. And I've seen football go from one level of when I was playing it to where it is today. And it's bigger than life today. It wasn't bigger than life when I was playing.
It's been 7 years since you were in Houston for the meetings that ended with the relocation of the Raiders to Vegas, the Chargers to LA. What do you remember about your work to help get the Raiders to Vegas in the negotiations?
Well, I did most of my work initially helping the Rams get to Los Angeles, getting that stadium there, because the Raiders were actively wanting to be a team that moved to Los Angeles. But after that, I spent a lot of time, made a handful of trips to Las Vegas and visited with key legislatures, the governor, key casino and gaming people. Spent several trips out there talking to their naming rights sponsor, me, personally, as though it were the Cowboys for the Raiders. So I spent a lot of time helping any way you can to make the Raiders all they can be. I actually promised that in a way to Al, who's a great friend of mine, and I feel that way for his son, and had told him that I'll do everything I can to help him in any way we can.
What made you think Vegas was an important market back then? It was still kind of iffy on the NFL and Vegas. What made Vegas important to you?
Well, two things. I saw the support that it had from the entire state. I saw the support it had from the gaming industry, which are a big part of the economics of the state. I saw that. And then I loved the idea, and I actually thought it really worked. It's key that it's such a destination entertainment venue that you could count on an influx of visiting team revenue from people coming to see the games, not quite as much as your season ticket holders of your home venue, but a lot more creditable than normal visiting team revenue, both in amount as well as a surety. And that's what's happened. And it's wonderful. And they've done a fabulous job of when they play the games out there, of letting that camera wander and see that strip and see all that going. And you kind of feel like you've had your little night when the Raiders are playing. You've had your little night in Vegas. That's good stuff.
Have you seen it all when you were talking earlier about the international perception of New York and the coastal cities? Have you seen some of that with Vegas and the parallels with the bid for this from the standpoint of when you came in the league, there was no discussion whatsoever about having a team in Vegas, and it takes time to change that perception. Is that comparable at all to what you see this World Cup bid doing to far as how is Dallas viewed and internationally too?
Yeah, you would have to be asleep at the wheel to not recognize the economic impact of the central part of the United States and of Texas, and the attractiveness of Texas. Look at the exodus that's happening from both coasts, in a manner of speaking. We are so friendly to futures, not only just when they say they're business friendly, we're friendly to young people's, young being from 20 to 65. We're so friendly to their futures that we're causing opportunities to come here left and right. And so a part of that will be what you see in a little at 10,000 feet. You should see some of that when you see soccer being played here in the World Cup. You should get some of that. And I think that's important that we show that. That had to overcome when people around the world think of America, they think of those skyscrapers up in New York, or they think of those movie stars out in California. We want them to think about where a lot of real life and real living and everything's going on here in the way of life here in Texas.
Jerry, is there any impact you think that Mike's contract status has on who you might be able to get as a coordinator? The fact that he's only signed through this season.
Oh, I don't anticipate that being an issue at all.
Why not?
Not at all. I mean, I don't know why, because they, if they take the job, they'll want to be the coordinator of the Cowboys. I mean, they're looking at that right there, and all that goes with that. And if they're aspiring, they know that there's a chance to be a head coach someplace, because the one that just left is.
So
it's a good opportunity for them.
Is there disappointment that Dan, and you've had Dan maybe a couple of years longer than some people thought, that he had to leave? Is there disappointment there?
Well, I felt that ultimately, a year ago, 2 years ago, I felt ultimately Dan wanted a head coaching job. And so it doesn't surprise me that he's landed a head coaching job. I couldn't look in a crystal ball and see what direction that might go back then, but it doesn't surprise me. And the fact that he's got head coaching credentials, been to a Super Bowl, and the fact that he enjoys some of the skill set that he's got.
The fact that you have him in Washington and Kellen in Philadelphia, seems like there's a lot of Cowboy stuff along your division now.
Well, there is, and they know us pretty well, don't they?
You know them.
Good. And you know, we've always known that there's nobody living that you don't have to learn to play without. That's the Cowboys go on.
All right, we're going to have to get going.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.